Better MMA, Pibble MMA is back in full effect. The people have been clamoring for another mukbang, so I had to come at them with the roast pork over rice mukbang. Yo, they got me. They set me up good. All right, UFC Canada, Vancouver, I believe, is going down this Saturday. The people have been calling for another mukbang picks, man. So you know what I gotta do? I gotta give the people what they want, man. But we're gonna go through every single fight on the card, minus the WMA, because forgive me, I do not keep up with WMA, so I do not want to give poor picks when it comes to the WMA. So we're gonna move starting from the bottom of the card, man. We're gonna go Yusri Belgari, Poatan Pereira's butt buddy, who he knocked out like twice in Glory Kickboxing, is going off against Azamat Bekoyev. Banger matchup, absolutely juiced. Let me tell you how juicy it is after I dive into some of this succulent, delicious, juicy roast pork. There's some good, I just got a really good, nice fatty piece of pork. Super tender, juicy, fatty. And then you see you got some more lean cuts in the center here. But man, speaking of juice, Azamat Bekoyev is a juicy boy. Look, if that guy is natty, God bless his mother and father. That guy is built like a tank. And from what we've seen from him in his UFC career, the guy can handle himself with grapplers. He can handle himself on the feet striking. Belgari is an imposing presence. He's a big, long, rangy guy, but I'm going to have to go Bekoyev here. If not with a dominant decision, I think he's going to take Belgari to the ground and probably submit him. Belgari, I'm sure he can handle himself on the feet, but there's going to be a big skill difference there when it comes to the grappling. So I'm going to say Bekoyev gets a second round submission. Sorry, bro. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is Cantonese style chashu pork. Absolutely delicious, man. But yeah, I think the skill difference on the ground when it comes to Bekoyev and Belgari, Bekoyev is going to have too big of an advantage. I think when it comes to his top pressure, when it comes to the size that he's bringing into the fight, I'm not sure if such a long, lanky guy like Belgari is going to be able to sweep or get off of his back if Bekoyev takes him down. For that reason, I'm going to go Bekoyev, either a first or second round submission. Moving on down the card. Moving up the card too, Kyle Prepolek versus Drew Dober. Now, Kyle Prepolek, right, he had that short notice bout against Benoit Saint Denis. I believe it was on the last Canadian card they had. But now he's facing Drew Dober. As we know, Drew Dober is a hard-hitting UFC veteran, and I'm going to go with Drew Dober in this fight. You know, Kyle Prepolek showed that he is a decent fighter, but I do not think he could deal with the striking power of Drew Dober. And come on, it's Drew Dober. Who's really ragdolling Drew Dober in his career outside of like Islam Makhachev? You know what I mean? So for that reason, Kyle Prepolek, you know, he's around the same age as Drew Dober. These guys don't have a big age difference or anything like that. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the guy who's been in the promotion and making a career knocking out fools in the UFC. So I'm going to go with the guy, Drew Dober, who's got the pungent power of this chashu pork. Prepolek, sorry, buddy, but you're going to get roasted up like chashu. As for the pork, super smoky, very savory, delicious smoky pork flavor. I'll try a little bit of cabbage. Very crunchy, very fresh, just like the two fresh faces in our next matchup, Danny Barlow versus Jordan Santos. Jordan Santos, who I believe came on Contender Series as a light heavyweight, but nonetheless, he is fighting Danny Barlow at middleweight. Danny Barlow is making his move up from welterweight up to middleweight. As we know, Danny Barlow is coming off of a first-round knockout loss to Sam Patterson, who is showing his own skills in the welterweight division right now. Danny Barlow is an interesting prospect because he's extremely athletic. He has the sort of frame that you want for a fighter. Crazy long reach, tall guy, but it seems to be the technical aspects where Danny Barlow gets caught. When he's against a very technical striker like Sam Patterson, as we saw, the paws get put on him. Jordan Santos is not that guy, though. Jordan Santos is a brawler. He's going to go wherever the fight goes. He's not necessarily who comes in there with a very strong, methodical game plan. For that reason, I'm going to go Danny Barlow in this matchup. As long as Danny Barlow can stay on the feet and Jordan Santos is not just laying on top of him, going for desperation takedowns, I think Danny Barlow's fast twitch muscles can just get him to be the first guy to the punch, and that simple factor is going to lead him to get a win in this fight. I think Jordan Santos is pretty mid, not really great at anything anywhere, and neither is Barlow. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the more athletic guy, probably the guy who has the more chances of knocking out his opponent, that being Danny Barlow. I'm going to go with Danny Barlow by a hard-fought, sloppy brawl, 3-round decision, or Danny Barlow is probably going to get a second or third round TKO just by clipping this guy behind the ear, and then we just have some messy, drag it out bar fight sort of finish. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. Moving up the card to the flyweights, Bruno Silva versus my guy, Hyung Sung Park. This is for you, Hyung Sung. This roast pork is delicious, bro. This roast pork is killing. Look how much they gave me. This was $10, by the way, bro. I was in Flushing, Queens. I had to pull up and get that roast pork. You know that shit I had to pay it in cash because those motherfuckers are not paying taxes. They're living the American dream. God bless them. All right? So good. So good. Oh yeah, that's hitting. That's hitting. Hyung Sung Park versus Bruno Silva. I'm a fan of both of these guys. I love the flyweight division. I love all the fresh faces in the flyweight division that we've gotten over the past couple of years. Hyung Sung Park is coming off of a brutal loss to Tatsuro Taira. He took it on extremely short notice. I believe it was less than a week's notice. But Hyung Sung Park, he absolutely got smoked. I mean, this guy got absolutely beat around the octagon by Tatsuro Taira. Tatsuro was just throwing him around all over the place and choked him out. Hyung Sung Park looked pretty chopped in his last fight. Bruno Silva, on the other hand, coming off of another chopped fight of Joshua Van. Joshua Van absolutely put the paws on Bruno Silva in their last fight. And so these guys are both coming off of finished losses. These are some big bounce back fights for the both of them. I need a little bit more chasu to decide who I'm going to pick, though. Maybe a little more cabbage to get the mind right. You know, I love my guy Bruno Silva, but I'm going to have to go with my dude Hyung-Sung Park. Hyung-Sung Park needs to put the flag of Korea on his back and represent, man, that his last fight was not what they're all about. Bruno Silva, I love the guy, but if I'm going to be real about what he is, he's an overhand merchant with a guillotine. You know what I'm saying? There's not really much when it comes to Bruno Silva's game that you got to be worried about. I'm just going to go on the upside that Hyung-Sung Park has better striking combinations. I don't really see Bruno Silva throwing in combination very much. And Bruno Silva doesn't really have much of an offensive grappling game that we've seen in the UFC. Neither does Hyung-Sung Park. So for that reason, I think these guys are going to stand and bang it out. And for that reason, I'm going to lean towards the guy who throws more combinations. He's going to be out-voluming Bruno Silva. If Bruno Silva could clip and possibly submit Hyung-Sung Park, that's typically Bruno Silva's way of winning a fight, you know, is if he could find a finish somewhere, but he's not really the type of guy who's going to outpoint you to a decision. For that reason, I think Hyung-Sung Park having that slight volume advantage, as we know, a lot of people could do a lot with just a little bit more volume. So I'm going to take that for what it is, and I'm going to lean towards Hyung-Sung Park getting a 3-round decision here. Moving on down the card, or moving up the card to an absolute banger matchup in the bantamweight division. Charles Jourdain versus Davy Grant. Charles Jourdain should honestly win this fight. Davy Grant, hell of a fighter. I mean, talk about an absolute S-tier veteran for the UFC. A guy who is an absolute W gatekeeper for the UFC in the bantamweight division. This is the sort of guy you need to beat if you are Charles Jourdain and you're trying to move your way up the rankings. You need to beat a guy like Davy Grant. Do I think Charles Jourdain has the ability to do it? Yes, Charles Jourdain has the arsenal of strikes to compete with the large arsenal of strikes that Davy Grant has. You know Davy Grant is going to throw low kicks. He's going to throw body kicks. He's going to throw these wild winging hook combinations on the feet. Charles Jourdain, you know, I think he's going to be savvy enough to hang with Davy Grant. I really like Davy Grant, and I don't like picking against him. I don't like that people, you know, push aside Davy Grant for his age or what have you. The guy has still got it. It's going to be a close competitive matchup. I could really see this being a split decision because these guys are going to go at it. They're going to go tit for tat, tit for tat. It's definitely a hard fight for me to pick. But I'm going to lean towards Charles Jourdain being on home turf. His brother just got a contract at Contender Series, you know, so just like Johnny Walker and Walter Walker, sometimes when one brother gets good momentum in the UFC, sort of just gives like good juju to the whole bloodline. So I'm going to lean with Charles Jourdain here. I also think Charles Jourdain does have a pretty sneaky guillotine. Not that Davy Grant is somebody who really panic shoots or anything like that. Davy Grant, of course, has a couple cheeky submissions of his own, but I'm going to lean with Charles Jourdain simply being the more in-shape guy. You know, Davy Grant, he's been really active as of recent in his late career, so perhaps he's just in a point right now where he's just like going through the motions, whereas Charles Jourdain, it's in his hometown. You know he's going to be locked in. I'm going to go Charles Jourdain, either to win a close split decision, or I could see him perhaps getting a late finish either by a club and sub or just a straight up submission, you know, like a club and sub. Yeah, if he hurts Davy Grant on the feet, he could maybe get a submission, but I'm going to go with Charles Jourdain. Charles Chasu. All right. Moving on to the main card with Kyle Nelson versus Steamroller Frivola. Chashu pork break. Kyle Nelson, decent fighter. You know, he's moving up from featherweight up to lightweight. As we know, Kyle Nelson has fought the likes of Steve Garcia, got knocked out by Steve Garcia, and this is his lightweight debut. Steamroller Frivola, coming off of a little bit of a layoff. I believe his last fight was against Perez Ziam, did not go his way, but he's coming back with a bang against Kyle Nelson. Both of these guys are in their mid-30s. Both of these guys have been through the ringer in the UFC. Both of these guys are some seasoned veterans. But if one thing is clear about this matchup, Matt Frivola is going to have a ground advantage. Matt Frivola should be the better wrestler, the better grappler, especially if he gets in a top position. I feel like Kyle Nelson is going to be pretty helpless. I could very much see Steamroller Frivola arm triangle finish in this fight. And even when it comes to the feet, Kyle Nelson, yes, could he hang on the feet with the best of them? But Steamroller Frivola should have the power advantage here. So for that reason, you know, Frivola is a dangerous guy in the first round. I could see him getting an early finish. But I'm going to say he takes Kyle Nelson to the ground. We're going to get a submission either in the first or second round. I could very well see an arm triangle for Steamroller Frivola. We're going Steamroller Frivola all day, baby. Moving up the card, too. Cody Gibson versus Arichi Lang. Man, Arichi Lang. Cody Gibson versus Arichi Lang. Cody Gibson is my dude, bro. I love Cody Gibson, man. Cody Gibson is such an OG. He shouldn't even be fighting anymore, if I'm going to keep it G real with you. Like, he's been in the UFC, got out of the UFC, fought his way back into the UFC. The guy is like pushing 40. He's getting up there, but he's still doing the damn thing. He's still giving good fights, and against a lot of these younger prospects, too. Arichi Lang, if I'm going to keep it G real, he doesn't really do anything special. You know, Cody Gibson is going to be the longer guy. He always presents a unique threat to his opponents with some long-rangey teep kicks, some very long-rangey 1-2s, and he's a very good wrestler and scrambler. So if Arichi Lang is looking to out-grapple Cody Gibson in this fight, you're going to get out-scrambled, buddy. Cody Gibson comes from a wrestling background. He's going to be scrambling with him on the ground all day, and I think Cody Gibson is going to have the better cardio. The guy is a beast. You know, Cody Gibson, he's a dog. Like, that's why I really like Cody Gibson. He might not be the most skilled and flashy technical fighter, but the guy is a dog. He comes with 15 minutes of cardio every single time. He can wrestle, and he's got some interesting strikes on the feet. I'm going with Cody Gibson all day, baby. Cody Gibson, I honestly hope he could get a finish. You know, it's been a while since we've seen a Cody Gibson finish, but if he doesn't get the finish, he's just going to dog this decision out, bro. I'm confident in Cody Gibson in this matchup all day, baby. Moving up the card, too. Mannion Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasuda Vicious. I got a special place in my heart for Jasmine Jasuda Vicious. You know, I like a lady that can wrestle. You know what I'm saying? I'm keeping G real. Like, Jasmine Jasuda Vicious, she's a good wrestler, though. Mannion Fiorot, she's a French kickboxer. The French are arguably some of the greatest kickboxers in the world. You know, respect to the French in their kickboxing game. They know how to point fight. But Jasmine Jasuda Vicious ain't going to play that game. Jasmine Jasuda Vicious is going to come in with the overhand and the double leg all night. So Mannion Fiorot just be ready to, you know, she better be ready to bring her wrestling shoes. You know, that's all I could really say for Mannion Fiorot. Fiorot is a big girl. for the weight class. So if she does know how to use her leverage and her size correctly, it could be a long night for Jazzy Jazz, because she doesn't want to waste all of her energy failing takedowns and then get picked apart by Fiora on the feet. But I'm going to believe in Jazzy Jazz, bringing it home for the hometown crowd. She's going to take down this Frenchie. And it's a really a win-win for the Canadian crowd, because, you know, the French Canadians, you know, and, so if Fiora wins, people are going to be happy anyways. But I'm going to go Jazzy Jazz. I just feel like she should have the advantage when it comes to the grappling, because the chick can actually wrestle and grapple. So I'm going to go Jazzy Jazz. You know, she's a grown woman too. Both of these ladies are grown, so they've got that grown lady strength. That, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, Jazzy Jazz all day. Moving up the card too, Marlon Vera versus Aiemann Zahabi. Unlike this delicious chashu pork, Aiemann Zahabi and Marlon Vera are pretty dry, man. Like, this fight might be a snooze fest, my G. Both of these guys are the definition of low volume. But for that reason, I'm going to have to go Aiemann Zahabi. I don't think Chito Vera is washed necessarily, but Chito Vera is extremely low volume. We have not seen Chito Vera open up and really try and finish a fight in what seems like years. The last time I could remember Chito Vera really going out there to finish a fight was against Frankie Edgar, who shouldn't have been in the octagon. And before that, it probably was like Davy Grant, you know, when he messed up Davy Grant in the clinch with some elbows. I feel like that's Chito Vera's best way to win this fight, is if he gets busy in the clinch. Because if he's looking to go one shot against Aiemann Zahabi is a catch counter merchant. The guy loves to catch counter all day. So as he's going to catch the shot of Marlon, counter him all day. If Marlon is just racking up exchanges like that, losing exchanges, before you know it, 1-2 rounds went by. You're already down 2-0, and you're losing the fight. Marlon Vera really needs to mix it up here. You know, he needs to show that he's still hungry. He needs to show that he is an elite fighter in this division. He needs to come out there and try and kill this guy, if I'm going to keep it real. Like, he needs to come out there with some fight-ending techniques, whether it's head kicks, front kicks, elbows in the clinch. He needs to make it nasty, and he can't let this guy off the hook. You know, Aiemann Zahabi is an older guy like Marlon Vera, but he's game. If we've seen anything from him, is that he's game, especially when it's in Canada. So I'm going to go with Aiemann Zahabi here, man. I'm going to keep it G real. Aiemann Zahabi, he doesn't do that much special on his own, other than the fact that he's a really safe technical fighter. Both of these guys are extremely safe, extremely defensively sound, so it's hard to say who's going to get the advantage in the offense, but I'm going to go Aiemann Zahabi just on the fact that I think his his defense might just be a little bit better. And if I'm going to be honest, Marlon Vera came from nothing, bro. Marlon Vera came from a bad financial situation in his life, and now he's up. He's had the title fights. He's gotten big checks. He's fought on pay-per-view after pay-per-view. Marlon Vera's living life pretty good right now. You saw his house in that Brett Okamoto interview. Like, the guy's living good. You know, God bless him, right? So I don't know how much dog, you know, Chito really has left in him. Zahabi still has something to prove. It's in his hometown, or it's in his home country. So I'm going Zahabi all day, baby. Moving up the card, too. Kevin Holland versus I stand on guard for thee, Mike Malott. Mike Malott, unlike this chashu pork, you dry as hell, son. Look, if we're going to keep it real, what do we always say about Kevin Holland? He loses fights he's supposed to win, and he wins fights he's supposed to lose. This fight screams fight that Kevin Holland is supposed to lose. So what does that mean? He's obviously going to win it. Look, Mike Malott, you're great. You hit hard. You got some good grappling. I think Mike Malott is one of these fighters where it's like, if fights were 1.5 rounds, Mike Malott's top 15, you know, or like he's up there. He could compete with the best for 1.5 rounds. Once it's in that third round, Neil Magny took that ass. Neil Magny was taking that ass, boy. So, I don't know, man. When Mike Malott gets tired, you know, when his arms start to feel it, you know, is Kevin Holland just going to be bouncing in and out and hit him with one of these, like, whipping shots that just clips him behind the ear and we got Mike Malott on Queer Street? I don't know, man. I don't know. Mike Malott right now is 1-1 in Canada. So we don't really know if this guy could hold it down and stand on guard for thee. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you want to stand on guard for thee, you better beat Kevin Holland, man. Kevin Holland. I'm gonna keep it real, man. Hold up. Man, they gave me complimentary water, by the way. But, I fuck with Kevin Holland. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's ridiculous. He's kind of a doofus sometimes, but I fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? He's got that good jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I'm gonna go Kevin Holland, bro. At the end of the day, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt with an 80-inch reach. You know what I'm saying? If Mike Malott wants to take him down, be my guest. You know what I'm saying? Could Mike Malott just muscle him, just out-muscle him and force him into an arm triangle, you know, and just squeeze the head off of Kevin Holland? I'm sure he could. But as I said before, this is a fight that Kevin Holland... It's impossible to pick Kevin Holland fights at this point, dude. He lost to Daniel Rodriguez in his last fight. And he was like a minus 500 favorite against Daniel Rodriguez, and he fucking just got his ass whooped. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's questionable motives for Kevin Holland, but I think Kevin Holland fights better when he's off of a loss. So fuck it, I'm gonna go Kevin Holland. Let's see if Mike Malott stands on guard for thee. If he does, I'm glad to lose this pick. You know what I'm saying? But moving up to the main event, shoot, I'm gonna say Holland anyway. I haven't really made up my mind on how Holland is going to win this fight because it's Kevin Holland. He could win a fight anyway, really. Moving up the card to the main event. Reinier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. RDR all day. I mean, I would like to think that Brendan Allen could have the performance of his career here and he could just like box the bleeding head off of Reinier de Ridder. But how is Brendan Allen going to deal with those knees? Is Brendan Allen really going to try to out-grapple Reinier de Ridder? You know, there's just not a lot of ways that Brendan Allen wins this fight. There's no path of least resistance for Brendan Allen in this fight, if that makes sense. You know, there's no massive advantage that Brendan Allen has in this matchup when it comes to the striking, right? Because if he tries to box with him and get in boxing range, he's going to be walking right into one of those knees, right to the gut, into the solar plexus. He tries to grapple with him, it's fucking RDR. He considers himself a grappler. So, RDR, I'm pretty sure is going to be the bigger, stronger guy in this fight. I'm going to go RDR here by a 5-round decision, probably a dominant decision, if not just like beating down Brendan Allen over 3-4 rounds and then getting a late submission in the 4th or the 5th. But Reinier de Ridder, all day. He's going to keep it crisp. He's going to keep it juicy, just like this chashu. But yeah, those are my picks. If you want to watch me finish eating this chashu pork, feel free. Really delicious pork, I'm not gonna lie. Really delicious. Nice lean bits here. Full of flavor, very smoky. Delicious. You know, some people just love watching me eat. I can't hate. Some people love watching me eat, man. I think I got good picks, bro. I think my picks are good. Mike Malott should beat Kevin Holland. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Mike Malott loses to Kevin Holland, bro, I don't know. I might pick flip. Hey, stay tuned. Check out my streams. I might pick flip midway through the week, man, on Mike Malott, Kevin Holland, bro. Because that fight is kind of chopped. I'm not going to lie, bro. Do I take Kevin Holland, Mr. Sell a Fight, or do I take the hyped up prospect that got his ass handed to him by Neil Magny? I like, boy, who do I pick, bro? Who do I pick? Let me know in the comments below. All right, guys. Yo, they gave me so much rice, cabbage, and pork here. I'm gonna save a little bit of this for like maybe a mid-lunch later today. I'm gonna have my little last bite here, get my last final review. And I'm gonna get up on out of here. In terms of the roasted pork that I've had in my life, I would say it is very quality roast pork. I would give it about an 8.4, 8.35, 8.4 in terms of the roasted pork. The cabbage, absolutely delicious, phenomenal. Can't go wrong with the cabbage. Overall score on the roasted pork, I'll give it an 8.5. For the complimentary water, I'll give them an 8.75. Lovely establishment. If I'm in the area, I will go back again. They're called Corner 29. Shout out in Flushing, New York. And yeah, appreciate you guys for watching. God bless, man. Peace.